The crash in my backyard. The night was unusually quiet for the quiet suburban street where Jake lived with his daughter Lily. The kind of quiet that made every creak of the old house louder, every whisper of the wind sharper. Jake sat slouched in his worn-out armchair, half watching late-night cartoons playing on the cracked TV. Lily, 10 years old and full of restless energy, was sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to the glowing screen. Then, without warning, the world exploded. A boom. So loud it shook the windows, rattled the entire house. The lights flickered and died, plunging the room into near darkness, except for the glowing blue light now flooding the windows from outside. "Dad! What was that?" Lily's voice trembled as she scrambled to her feet. Jake's heart hammered as he grabbed her hand. "I don't know, but we need to get outside. Now!" The back door creaked as he swung it open, and the blast of cold night air hit him in the face. The backyard, usually quiet and peaceful, was chaos. A section of the wooden fence lay shattered on the ground. The flower beds were trampled, soil overturned, and right in the middle was something otherworldly. A craft, no bigger than a compact car, but unlike anything Jake had ever seen, was nestled among the broken bushes. Its surface shimmered softly, reflecting a faint iridescent glow that pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. Jake's breath caught. Near the craft, a figure struggled to stand. The shape was unmistakably humanoid, but the skin shimmered with a pale blue glow, as if made from liquid light. Hair floated around the figure's face in slow motion, like tendrils underwater, and the eyes, huge and silver, caught the moonlight, reflecting it like mirrored glass. The figure collapsed forward, arms reaching toward Jake in desperation. Instinct took over. Jake caught the falling figure in his arms, holding her close to keep her from hitting the hard ground. "Who? What are you?" Jake whispered, his voice cracking. The woman's lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she pressed her palm against his wrist with surprising strength. "If you call anyone..." Her voice was barely a whisper, yet it held a deadly seriousness. "We both die." Jake's mind raced. The fear in her eyes was real, raw. Lily tugged at his jacket, voice small and scared. "Dad, is she an alien?" Jake didn't answer. How could he? The world he thought he knew just shattered alongside his fence. Inside the house, Jake settled the woman, Solara, as she would later tell him, on the couch. He wrapped a blanket around her fragile frame, noticing the strange pulse of light beneath her skin, as if she carried a second heartbeat. Lily hovered nearby, curiosity battling fear. "Is she dangerous?" "No," Jake said slowly. "She's hurt. We're going to help her." Solara's eyes fluttered open. Her voice was soft but clear when she spoke. "Thank you." "How did you get here?" Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted the answer. Her gaze darkened. "My ship crashed." Jake looked toward the backyard where the smoking craft waited like a wounded animal. "Can you fix it?" Solara hesitated, then nodded. "With help, yes." Jake swallowed hard. Help. That word felt heavier than ever. Hours passed as Jake watched Solara. She healed at a rate that defied logic, the faint glow of her skin pulsing steadily, a calming rhythm. Lily warmed to her cautiously, asking questions and sharing small smiles. Despite the surreal situation, Jake's mind wandered to the ordinary. Troubles waiting for him, bills unpaid, a job that barely covered rent, and a daughter who deserved a normal life. Fixing an alien spaceship was far from normal. But when Solara's eyes met his again, pleading silently, Jake realized he had no choice. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll help." The days blurred into nights. Jake scavenged junkyards and hardware stores, searching for parts that might help patch the alien craft. Solara worked silently beside him, her fingers tracing the strange controls, with a knowledge that fascinated and terrified Jake. She said little about where she came from or who hunted her, only that her people were dangerous, that she had escaped. something worse than death. One night, as Jake labored under the pale porch light, the hum of the ship shifted, a soft, intelligent vibration. "Does it respond to you?" Solara asked quietly. Jake touched a glowing panel hesitantly. The surface rippled under his fingers, like liquid responding to a stone dropped into a pond. "It's like it knows me," he muttered. Suddenly, a noise from the backyard shattered the fragile calm. Jake froze. From the shadows stepped a tall figure. Not like Solara, this one's skin was darker, eyes glowing faint red. He moved with an unnatural grace. "You shouldn't have helped her," the stranger said, voice cold and unreadable. Jake's pulse thundered. "Who are you?" "The hunters," the figure replied. "And now you're marked." Jake's world tilted. He realized then that helping Solara was no longer a choice. It was survival, and as he looked into her silver eyes, he knew that the night had only just begun. Shadows in the night. Jake's heart thundered as the stranger's words echoed in the backyard. "You shouldn't have helped her. The hunters will come." The cold grip of fear clenched his chest tighter than ever before. He looked to Solara, whose silver eyes now narrowed with caution. She rose slowly, every movement deliberate, like a dancer preparing for a fight. "Who are they?" Jake asked, voice barely steady. "They hunt my kind," Solara said quietly. "Not all aliens are peaceful. Some see us as threats or worse." Her gaze flickered toward the broken fence in the craft. "They want me captured or destroyed," Jake swallowed hard. "Why you?" Solara's eyes grew distant, haunted. "Because I carry knowledge that could change everything, and they fear it." For a moment, Jake felt like he was living in a nightmare scripted by someone else, a tale of cosmic war and secrets beyond Earth's understanding. But this was his reality now. The stranger stepped closer, and Jake noticed a strange shimmer around him, like static electricity dancing across his skin. "Leave her. Walk away. If you don't, you'll disappear too," the stranger warned, voice low and threatening. Jake's protective instincts flared. "No, she's with me." Solara's hand brushed Jake's arm, her touch cool but steady. "We can't fight them. Not yet. We must hide." The stranger's lips twisted into a cruel smile. "You won't hide for long," and with that, he vanished into the shadows. The quiet that followed was suffocating. Jake helped Solara back inside, bolting every door and window with trembling hands. "Who was that?" Lily asked, eyes wide with fear. "A hunter," Solara answered softly. "They've been chasing me across stars and galaxies." Jake sat heavily on the couch, rubbing his face. "How do we stop them?" Solara looked at him with a strange mixture of hope and sorrow. "We don't. Not yet." Over the next days, Jake's world shrank to the small bubble of their house and the wrecked ship in the backyard. The alien craft was unlike anything Jake had ever seen, its surface slick and alive, almost organic. Solara worked tirelessly, her fingers dancing across controls, repairing damage in ways that defied human logic. "Tell me about your people," Jake finally asked one evening, breaking the silence. Solara hesitated, then nodded. "We come from a distant star system called Lyra. Our civilization is ancient, built on knowledge, exploration, and balance. But power corrupts everywhere, even among the stars." She looked away, pain flickering across her face. "A faction of my people grew ruthless, believing they should dominate weaker worlds. I refused to join them, so they hunted you," Jake said, piecing it together. Solara nodded. "For defying their orders, for protecting Earth." Jake felt the weight of that revelation. Earth, his home, was a prize in an interstellar war he hadn't even imagined. Days blurred into nights, and the bond between Jake and Solara grew. Fragile, but real. Lily warmed to Solara, who seemed fascinated by the little girl's innocence and laughter. One evening, Jake caught Solara staring at Lily, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. "Do you have family?" Jake asked gently. Solara's gaze darkened. Lost, exiled. Jake nodded, understanding loneliness more deeply than ever. "Maybe you can stay here," he said quietly, "as long as you need." Solara looked at him, surprised. "Why would you risk so much for me?" Jake smiled wryly. "Because sometimes you have to believe in something bigger than yourself, and right now, that's you." But peace was fragile. Late one night, Jake heard a sound. Soft footsteps on the porch. He crept to the window and saw a figure standing, just beyond the garden. Not the hunter from before, this one looked human, but with eyes too sharp, too knowing, the stranger's lips curled into a smile. "Helping her won't save you," the visitor said, voice smooth as silk. "It will destroy you." Jake backed away from the window, heart pounding. Solara appeared behind him, calm but alert. "They're coming," she said simply. The next day, Jake found a message etched into the wall of the basement. Something glowing faintly, impossible to ignore. Solara stared at it, lips parted in disbelief. "It's a warning," she said. "From my people." The message was clear. "Trust no one. The hunters are closer than you think." Jake's blood ran cold. Cliffhanger. That night, as Jake and Solara worked side by side to stabilize the ship's systems, a sudden explosion rocked the backyard. The fence splintered again, this time with precision and power. From the smoke emerged a group, more than one, of the hunters. Their eyes glowed red, and their voices echoed in the night. "Give her to us, or burn with the rest." Jake's fingers tightened around a metal pipe. He looked at Solara. "We're not giving up without a fight." The siege, the hunters had arrived. Jake could hear their low, guttural voices outside, a chilling symphony that sent ice through his veins. The shattered fence barely kept them at bay, but it was only a matter of time before they breached the yard and forced their way inside. He glanced at Solara, who was already moving with a purposeful grace. The glow beneath her skin had intensified, casting the dim room in an ethereal blue light. "We need a plan," Jake whispered, urgency lacing his voice. Solara nodded. "There's no way to outrun them. We have to stand our ground, but I need more time to finish repairs on my ship." Jake's eyes darted toward the battered craft nestled in the garden, its surface flickering with unstable energy. "I'll buy you time. Just tell me what to do." The night air was thick with tension as Jake prepared. He scavenged what he could from the basement, a few tools, a metal pipe, anything to defend against the approaching threat. Lily clung to his side, wide-eyed and trembling. Jake wrapped an arm protectively around her, trying to shield her from the storm coming their way. "Dad, I'm scared," she whispered. Jake forced a calm smile. "Me too, kiddo, but we'll get through this. Together." Outside, the hunters advanced with lethal precision. They moved like shadows, their movements silent despite their size. Jake crouched near the back door, heart hammering in his chest. When the first hunter smashed through the fence, Jake swung the metal pipe with all his might. The hunter barely flinched, but the strike bought them precious seconds. Solara's voice rang out from the house, calm but commanding. "Jake! The power core is unstable. You have 5 minutes before it overloads." Jake gritted his teeth. "Got it!" The hunters regrouped quickly, surrounding the house. Jake peered through the window, watching their red eyes gleam with malevolent intent. Suddenly, the largest hunter let out a low growl and lunged for the door. Jake slammed into the doorframe, wrestling the massive creature back with every ounce of strength. The battle was brutal but silent, a deadly dance of fists and desperation. Inside, Solara worked feverishly at the ship's controls. Sparks flew, and the hum of the ship grew louder, threatening to erupt. She spoke softly, mostly to herself. "Come on, just a little longer." Her fingers moved with a practiced precision, weaving alien technology and human ingenuity. Jake's vision blurred with sweat and pain. The hunters were relentless, their glowing red eyes burning through the night. He realized this wasn't just about the ship or Solara. It was about survival, for his daughter, for the strange woman who had crashed into his life, for a future none of them could yet imagine. Outside, Lily watched from the window, clutching a small toy tightly. Tears slid down her cheeks as she whispered, "Please be safe, Dad." Suddenly, a deafening roar filled the air. The ship's core exploded in a dazzling burst of blue light, illuminating the night sky. The hunters staggered back, momentarily blinded. Solara seized the moment. "Jake, now! Help me activate the ship's defense system." Jake scrambled to her side, helping flip switches and reroute power. The ship hummed to life, sending out a powerful pulse that sent the hunters crashing to the ground, incapacitated but not defeated. Breathing heavily, Jake looked at Solara. "We did it for now." But the danger was far from over. Cliffhanger. As dawn broke, a new message appeared on the ship's control panel. In glowing letters, it read, "The real enemy is coming. Prepare. The truth unveiled." The first light of dawn filtered through the cracked windows, casting long shadows across the battered living room. Jake sat on the worn couch, exhaustion weighing heavy in his bones. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at the glowing message on Solara's ship control panel. "The real enemy is coming. Prepare." The words echoed in his mind, a chilling promise of danger yet to come. Solara stood nearby, her eyes fixed on the ship's interface. The glow beneath her skin had dimmed since the pulse that sent the hunters reeling, but her expression was far from relieved. "We were lucky last night," she said quietly. "The hunters were just the first wave. What's coming is worse." Jake swallowed hard. "Worse than hunters." Solara nodded. "There's a faction in my people, the purists. They believe in cleansing the universe of impurities. Earth and everyone on it is considered a stain. They've been hunting me because I oppose them, and now they're sending their elite to finish the job." Jake's mind reeled. He had always thought aliens were something out of movies or dreams. But now, with Solara and her warnings, his world was filled with real threats and impossible choices. Lily peeked out from behind Jake, clutching a small blanket. "Dad, are they coming back?" Jake knelt down and pulled her close. "We'll protect you, Lily, no matter what." The morning passed in a blur of frantic preparation. Solara and Jake worked together, fortifying the house as best they could. The ship, though still damaged, hummed with latent power. Solara showed Jake how to activate a defensive shield that could briefly protect them from physical attacks. "I'll help you learn to use it," she promised, her tone firm but kind. As Jake absorbed the gravity of their situation, he realized something else. He couldn't do this alone. His neighbors, friends, the community, none of them could know. It was a secret too dangerous to share. That afternoon, as Jake was surveying the backyard, a soft humming sound caught his attention. He turned to see a small drone hovering near. The ship. Solara's eyes narrowed. "Spy tech, they're already watching." Before Jake could react, the drone emitted a piercing pulse. The shield around the house flickered, strained against the invisible assault. "We need to find their base," Solara said grimly. "Cut off the threat at its source." Jake nodded. "Where do we start?" Solara moved to the ship's console and pulled up a star map, marking a cluster of coordinates. "This is where they operate, a hidden outpost on the far side of the moon. If we can get there, we might be able to stop them before they reach Earth." The plan was reckless, but Jake knew it was their only chance. That night, with Lily safely asleep upstairs, Jake and Solara prepared to leave. The ship was patched, enough to make the trip, but not without risks. As they climbed into the cockpit, Jake felt a strange mix of fear and determination. "Ready?" Solara asked. Jake nodded. "Let's end this." The ship soared into the night sky, slipping past Earth's atmosphere in a silent burst of light. Jake stared out the window, the familiar blue planet shrinking behind them. "This is really happening," he murmured. Solara's voice was steady. "It has to, for Earth's future." The journey to the moon was tense but uneventful, until they reached the dark side, a place where no sunlight ever reached. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors lit up with signs of life, but nothing familiar. "There," Solara said, pointing to a shadowed crater, a sprawling complex, half buried in lunar dust, glowed faintly with alien technology. Jake's pulse quickened. "That's it?" Solara nodded. "Their base." The ship landed silently near the edge of the crater. Jake and Solara prepared to move on foot, slipping through shadows to avoid detection. Inside the base, corridors stretched endlessly, cold and sterile. They could hear voices, deep, commanding. Jake's grip tightened around the makeshift weapon Solara had given him, a device that could emit bursts of energy. As they crept deeper, Solara paused by a doorway. From inside, a meeting was underway. Jake strained to listen. "We must crush the resistance," a harsh voice declared. "The defectors like Solara threaten the purity of our race. Earth must be purged." Another voice, colder and crueler, replied, "Prepare the bioweapon. No one will survive its blast." Solara's eyes burned with fury. "We can't let this happen," she whispered. "We have to stop them." Jake nodded. "Then let's do it." They slipped into the control room, where a massive device pulsed ominously, the bioweapon Solara mentioned. Solara began hacking into the controls, sweat beading on her brow as alarms suddenly blared. "They found us," she said, eyes wide. The base flooded with harsh lights, and armed guards poured into the corridors. Jake readied himself, heart pounding. "We fight," he said simply. The battle that followed was fierce but desperate. Jake and Solara moved with urgency, dodging blasts and traps. They fought not just for survival, but for the fate of Earth itself. At the climax, as Solara struggled to disable the bioweapon, Jake faced down the leader of the Purists, a towering figure whose presence radiated menace. "You cannot stop what is coming," the leader snarled. Jake met his gaze, voice steady despite the fear. "You're wrong. We will stop you." The escape and revelation. Jake's heart pounded like a drum in his chest as he stared into the shadowed corridor where Solara had been dragged. His voice cracked as he shouted, "Solara!" But the only reply was the harsh echo of footsteps fading. Into darkness, pain twisted through him, anger, helplessness, fear. He had promised Lily he'd keep them safe. Now Solara was gone, and the enemy was still here. For a moment, Jake stood frozen, torn between chasing after her and securing the mission to disable the bioweapon. Then a fierce resolve took hold. He had to finish what they started, for Solara, for Lily, and for Earth. Jake sprinted toward the control room, where the bioweapon's core glowed ominously. The alarms were deafening, every second ticking down to disaster. Hands trembling, he followed Solara's instructions from memory, twisting knobs, pressing panels, overriding codes. The bioweapon's hum slowed, then stuttered. The energy dimmed. He exhaled a shaky breath. Almost there. Suddenly a blaring warning interrupted. A countdown began. 5 minutes. Jake cursed. "They've got a failsafe." He scrambled to find the override, his mind racing through everything Solara had taught him. Meanwhile, Solara was held captive deep within the Purist base. The leader, the towering figure who had grabbed her, paced slowly, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "You defy us, Solara," he said coldly. "You betray your people." Solara met his gaze with steady defiance. "I protect Earth because it deserves to survive. Your purism will only bring destruction." The leader chuckled darkly. "You don't understand. Purity means evolution. Weakness will be eradicated. You will see the truth." Solara's eyes narrowed. "Your truth is just fear and hate." Back in the control room, Jake's hands flew over the controls. The countdown ticked relentlessly towards 0. His mind flashed to Lily upstairs. Innocent, unaware, and to the desperate hope Solara carried, he pressed the final command. The bioweapons core fizzled, then powered down completely. The alarms ceased. Jake sank to his knees, breathless, but victory was short-lived. Heavy footsteps thundered behind him. The purist leader appeared, flanked by guards. "You may have disabled the weapon," he said, voice dripping with menace, "but you cannot stop what is coming." Jake stood, chest heaving, gripping the energy device tightly. "We'll see about that." Suddenly, a burst of light exploded from the ceiling. Solara, free and fierce, appeared. Blasting guards aside with a weapon of her own, Jake stared in disbelief. "Solara," she smiled grimly. "I had some help." Together, they fought through the corridor, their combined strength unstoppable. Emerging into the moon's barren surface, they raced back to the ship. But their escape was far from certain. A shadow loomed behind them. The purist leader, relentless. At the ship, Solara initiated launch protocols. "We have to go, now." Jake helped Lily climb aboard as Solara sealed the hatch. The engines roared to life, lifting them off the moon. As they broke through the atmosphere, Jake looked at Solara, breathless. What now? Solara's eyes were tired, but resolute. "Now, we prepare for the next wave. They won't stop coming, but neither will we." Humanity's stand. The hum of the ship's engines filled the small cockpit, a constant reminder that time was slipping away. Jake stared at the blinking alert on the console. The purist armada was only 20 hours away from Earth's orbit. The gravity of the situation pressed down on him like a stone, heavier than anything he had ever faced. Solara sat beside him, her luminous skin dimmed but eyes blazing with determination. Lily was safely secured in a small cabin below deck, too. Young to understand the scale of what was happening, but Jake's heart ached for her future, a future that might be erased if they failed. "We need allies," Solara said quietly. "The purists outnumber us. If we stand alone, Earth is lost." Jake nodded. "But who? My neighbors, the government. No one will believe us without proof." Solara's gaze sharpened. "We have one advantage, humanity's resilience. The willingness to fight for what's right, even when the odds are against us." Jake looked out at the stars, searching for hope in the void. They devised a plan. Solara would send a message, a call for help, broadcast across Earth's global networks. It would reveal the truth about the purists, the alien threat, and the need for unity. Jake would help coordinate from within, using his connections as a local mechanic and community member to rally people, to prepare them for the fight ahead. As the hours ticked by, the broadcast began. Across the world, millions stopped what they were doing to watch Solara's message. Her voice, calm and urgent, told the story of an alien race divided by ideology, of the purists' deadly plans, and the desperate need for Earth to stand together. The reaction was mixed. Skepticism battled with fear, but among the viewers, a spark ignited. Jake's phone rang non-stop. Friends, neighbors, strangers reaching out, asking how they could help. Communities organized, training in defense, sharing resources, and preparing for the coming storm. The world was waking up. Meanwhile, aboard the ship, Solara and Jake prepared for battle. Weapons were armed, shields strengthened. Lily watched from the cabin, clutching her favorite stuffed toy. Jake knelt beside her. "No matter what happens, I promise we'll protect you," she nodded solemnly. The purist armada emerged from the darkness, a colossal fleet of warships, sleek and menacing. They advanced toward Earth like a storm. The battle was fierce. Jake piloted the ship through deadly volleys, dodging blasts and debris. Solara directed counterattacks, using her advanced technology to disrupt the enemy's formation. On Earth, coordinated defense forces engaged the purists' landing parties. Despite overwhelming odds, humanity's spirit shone through. People fought not just with weapons, but with courage, hope, and unity. In the thick of the fight, Jake found himself face to face with the purist leader, the same figure who had once captured Solara. Their battle was intense, a clash of wills and strength. Jake's human determination met the alien's ruthless ideology. In the end, it was Jake's heart, his love for Lily, for his family, and for Earth that gave him the edge. He disarmed the leader, ending the threat. With their leader defeated, the purist forces faltered and began to retreat. Solara's ship emitted a powerful pulse, disabling their warships. The battle was won, but the cost was clear. Cities were scarred, lives lost. In the quiet after the storm, Jake and Solara stood on a hill overlooking a recovering world. Lily ran ahead, laughing, a sound of hope and renewal. Solara turned to Jake. "You taught me something important," she said softly. Jake smiled. "What's that?" "That humanity's greatest strength isn't technology or power. It's heart, compassion, the willingness to fight for one another." Jake looked out at the horizon, the sun rising on a new day. "Yeah," he said. "Humanity. Yeah. Final lesson. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with weapons, but with hope, unity, and the courage to stand together against the darkness. It's our compassion and resilience that define us, not our differences or fears. The end.